Well, Nick, I sure hope you're not an epileptic, because welcome to Dead Space. How you doing tonight, buddy?
That was a lot of warnings when you booted up the game. That might be the scariest part of all.
Yeah, right.
Was this game made by a multicultural team from various religious faiths and backgrounds? Because
No,
if I don't see that now,
You're thinking of Ubisoft. This game was made by EA. It was programmed actually by a soulless robot who is demanding your debit card number.
oh, is this one of those AI generated games I've heard so much about?
You know,
Or is this just one of those cheap AI upscaled games?
it's definitely not upscaled. They rebuilt this from the ground up, which is impressive. But I gotta say, as soon as you brought up the notion of a Dead Space roguelike, I was a little bit intrigued.
Falling apart here. I can't believe what's happening.
Nicole's aged a little bit from the PS3 days.
Strange. Such a little thing.
Though I actually kind of like that. Like, Isaac was like a 45-year-old schmuck who was dating a 20-year-old supermodel. Now
They're a lot
they're
more
both kind of
accepting of this in
mature.
the future.
Yeah, right.
It's not a job you turn down, but 6 months apart with only vid calls.
I gotta tell you, I know one of your criticisms of the remake is Isaac having a voice and interaction. I actually kind of like it. I never felt like Isaac in the original PS3 version needed to be a silent protagonist.
But a silent protagonist is a lot easier to project yourself onto.
Oh yeah.
When I think how to do a protagonist poorly, I think of Ethan from Resident Evil 7.
Mm-hmm. I'm listening.
Yeah, just nothing took me out of the experience more than just Ethan and his urge to drop F-bombs at times that really didn't make any sense.
Well, I can agree with that. Where I have my difference though is that in games like Resident Evil 7 or Dead Space, where a big part of the game's narrative is how the environment or villains interact with the protagonist, it kind of helps me a little bit to have the protagonist react back.
I'm completely fine with it because, in my opinion, it adds to the eeriness.
No, I can understand that, but there's so many lines where they're talking directly to Isaac that in the PS3 when he didn't have a voice,
You
it's
just
like
write it better then.
well, yeah,
You
no,
just write
exactly.
around it.
Right. Well, and that's kind of what they did in this one. They realized like, hey, this really didn't work as a silent protagonist game, so let's actually give him a voice and personality like we did in Dead Space 2 and 3.
It sounds like instead of re-recording everybody's lines, they just wanted to re-record one person's lines.
Oh no, they're all like, you'll notice that they're actually talking to him and he's responding to what's going on. Like they did some. It's not a full rewrite of the script, but they definitely adjusted it.
Busted. Maybe a broken encoder. Daniels and I can handle it in 48 hours max.
So it's less like he's window dressing on the mission and more like he's an actual part of the team, which in my view is a upscale.
I'm losing control.
Oh shit!
We're off course. Daniel.
Guidance system override isn't responsive.
Shit, we're coming in too hot. It's gonna smash us.
And you gotta hand it to him, like, I remember distinctly, like, kind of what the PS3 version looked like, and this is certainly a leap forward.
I was going to make a comment, instead of just retexturing old games and reselling them, make your own game. And then they did, and it was called Callisto Protocol, and it wasn't
very good. Yeah, right.
No.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, if your game doesn't sell less than $100 million on opening day, it's not financially viable anymore.
Nope, that's right. I gotta say, like, at a certain point, we're gonna hit, like,
That guidance system's a death trap.
remake peak, where there's just nothing else to remake. But right now, like, we're in this age where I am enjoying the remakes that we're getting. Still.
No, you'll get reboots then instead.
Reboots of
there
remakes.
Are no more, there's no more original ideas. It's just going to be rehashing the same stuff over and over. Video games and movies are going to be like Taco Bell. They're going to have 5 ingredients, and they're going to shuffle those 5 ingredients around.
You could
until they make
argue
20 different burritos.
You could argue that we've been doing that since the PS2, though.
Nope, I disagree.
See, in my mind, like the PS2 was when I first started to notice like the plethora of games that were either rip-offs of other more successful games, or just plastering the same principal idea with slightly better graphics.
That's fine. You still had to make your own game, as opposed to the endless myriad of remakes where it's just like, hey, let's take something that already exists and is popular, and
Yeah.
yeah.
No, you're
Which
not
is fine.
you're not wrong, but my thought on that is, at the very least, the ones that do it well, I'm thinking like Resident Evil 2 and Link's Awakening. Those are games that are so good by themselves that a new generation of players who didn't grow up with them deserves to play it. And as much as I hate to admit it, the PS3 is now a system that the newest generation did not get to experience.
Where's my HD remake of Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3?
It's coming, Nick. Hang on.
Is it? Is it?
Hang on. Hang on. God damn. So, it's now been a solid 3 weeks since I had a cold. My voice still just randomly gives out. I think I'm dying.
You think you're dying?
I think I'm dying.
Did I tell you I was pretty sure I had a small aneurysm last week?
Sweet, how'd that go down?
Well, physically, yeah, I went down pretty hard.
Oh God.
Face first, but yeah, I'm not going to talk about that too much here, but I'm still recovering from that.
No, I'm genuinely curious. How did this go down?
I just told you I'm not going to talk about it here on stream, but
But I'm the only one listening.
There was a moment where I literally thought I was going to die, and I was going through my tick box in my head, like, okay, Joseph will take care of the dogs, the house goes to my sister, everything's fine.
Oh God.
I'm ready to go.
That sounds horrifying.
And then I didn't die, Chris.
Then you're still here.
Die.
You know, one thing, I joked with you guys when you were over here for my birthday that my goal for the second half of my 30s is to not be so fixated on my mortality. But at the same time, I also still have to acknowledge that once you hit like your mid-30s, it becomes less of a situation where, like, you know, take care of yourself and your body will reward you for it. Then, like, no, you just have no control over what happens.
No, you have diminishing returns.
Exactly. Yes.
You don't get to throw your hands up and deny culpability.
No.
But yeah, you're not going to see as many.
But you will eventually, one way or another, have just mystery pains and ailments.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
have
But
nothing
like
to do with
everyone
how
who
well
came
you
before
diet
you.
and exercise.
But you're going to die at some point, right? So
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
Right. Yeah. That being said, I'm glad you're here, Nick.
Well, that makes you at least. So, are you familiar with?
Dark. You got
Are
dark
you
there,
familiar
Nick.
with the spoilers in the chapter headings in this game?
Oh, Nicole is dead.
Way to give away the ending.
It's a fucking, what, 15-year-old game. I think we're okay. Unlike this guy right here. Watch him. Watch him. It's gonna get funny.
That TV in the background looks like Bugs Bunny is jumping out of a logo.
Yeah, a little bit. Hey, here they come. One thing that I've always admired Dead Space for, even if it gives up on the horror halfway through, it at least wastes no time getting into the horror.
It's so abrupt that it's that much more effective.
Yeah, because, like, there was barely even a part of the mission that was going well. It's like, well, the ride in was smooth until we actually got to the ship.
Do you think we'll actually ever have a future where we live on spaceships like this, or do you think we're just all going to die well before that?
I think well before mankind figures out how to do interstellar travel, we'll have polluted ourselves into oblivion. And that's not even me being a cynic. Like, the last decade has shown that we really, truly just don't give a fuck. Like, we have the information, and we even have the technology to act on the information. We're just not acting on the information.
So what you're saying is it's basically going to be Book of the New Sun, where we hit our peak and this steadily regress to medieval times.
Oh, yes. And like, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's going to be like a full extermination where there's no mankind left. I just think there's going to be a long period of time where, you know, like, our great-grandchildren are going to have to pay the price for our complete and total lack of foresight. And again, I'm not trying to be overly cynical here, but you asked, so that's what I believe.
You know, a cynic is just a disappointed optimist.
Yeah.
In the words of the great Carl Sagan... Wait. No, George Carlin, my mistake.
This guy's gonna get got.
Now, you've played this before, it sounds like.
Oh, yes. Give me that leg. There we go.
So what's the difficulty setting here?
Just medium, standard.
Oh, okay.
I figure if I do anything harder than that, one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to stop having a good time, or our audience is going to stop having a good time. Meaning Sparks Retorno, who isn't with us yet.
Security request.
I was going to say, Rex is passed out on the couch. He's asleep. It's past his bedtime.
You know I don't like horror movies, Nick. I love how much time of the intro is spent teaching you to chop their arms and legs off.
Isaac. Oh my god, Isaac. You made it.
I'm going to turn this down just a hair. I don't know how it is on your end.
It's a little loud.
They're everywhere.
There we go.
Shit, is he,
He's gone.
Still coming in the mid to high green.
What the fuck are these things?
the ones I saw, some of them were wearing Ishimura.
Why do you need the visual panel? They're right over there.
He's only looking at
You
the
can
visual
wave at
panel.
them.
He's only
they'll
looking
see
at the.
you.
Isaac is just one of those technophiles that's so used to looking through a screen that he can't do anything
Everything's
else.
locked down because of the quarantine.
This is how he
And
copes.
you're both
Okay,
prepared to
that's
ask.
fine.
So how do we do this?
The fact that he's essentially a 40-year-old space janitor.
There's a broken car blocking the
Hey, in the future, 40 is probably like the new 20.
Yeah. And let's be real, he's a highly qualified engineer, but I
was,
look at his uniform and I think space janitor.
I was reading this article a couple weeks ago about like this tech CEO who's like, he's 45, but he's got the biological age of an 18-year-old.
Oh, God.
Did you read this article? Like when it
No,
was
but
on
it's
blast?
amazing what money will buy you these days.
No, it's funny because he looks like a 45-year-old man who's dressing like an 18-year-old.
Oh, of course.
I was like, whatever millions of dollars you spent for stem cells and like 13-year-old's blood being pumped into you,
All it saved you was a trip to Abercrombie and Fitch, right?
pretty much. All it did was get you a couple sycophants to say, "Yeah, you look younger, sir."
You look great for your age. God, is there any worse like insult that you can give a human being than "you look good for your age"?
Yeah, there's a few I can think of. Like,
yeah, I mean-
I really admire how you just don't care how you look in front of other people.
It's like,
That's a
you know,
good one.
I wish I had your courage just to go out there and be yourself.
That's very brave of you to wear Crocs and sweatpants. I could never do that.
You know what my favorite part of Avengers Endgame is?
Which one is that? The
The-
first one or the second one?
The one where they kill Thanos finally.
Okay, I've never seen that one. Go ahead.
That's fine. It's where so in a movie that I enjoyed but largely could have cared less about.
Well, that's a ringing endorsement.
No, so like I enjoyed it for what it was, but like by that time I couldn't say that I was still invested in it.
If that movie were a food, what would it be, Chris? Something that you enjoyed but were not invested
It would be
in.
a bowl of oatmeal. Like I enjoy oatmeal, but like I'm not super invested in my oatmeal. Where I was going with that is, beyond like the fact that they ended a project that had taken Disney, 10 plus years to tell. That guy's coming back. Watch out for him. My favorite part of the whole film was Thor wearing Crocs to Tony Stark's funeral.
Oh.
Like that was the
Iron
one
Man
part of
died.
that was the one part of the movie that got an actual reaction out of me. Like I knew exactly where it was going, beat for beat, but like, and like I knew Tony Stark had to die because Robert Downey Jr. is pushing 50 and he's not going to do this forever.
It's not stopping Keanu Reeves.
No, well, nothing can stop Keanu Reeves. I like Keanu Reeves if you can't tell. But like. After all of that, like 3.5 hours in that theater, and seeing the cuts across Tony Stark's funeral where it's supposed to be the sad, somber moment, and there's Chris Hemsworth with his beer gut in a pair of Crocs, that actually got a good chuckle out of me.
Can you believe in a Marvel movie they undercut an emotional moment with a quick, easy gag?
But it wasn't that easy. That's the thing. Most people probably didn't even notice it.
That always that's always one of the kind of interesting things about that series, which is who plays Thor?
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth. I always get him confused with someone else, but it's like after the second Thor movie, they kind of found out this guy's really funny.
Yeah.
But we don't quite know how to use that.
Right. Like, why should Thor be funny, right? What the hell? Eat it. Are you kidding me? Fucking die.
Operation.
Oh no! There was another one. So, now's actually probably a good time to talk about Dead Space, finally. My take on Dead Space has always been, I enjoy the game for what it is. Like, people talk about it like it's one of the most horrifying, terrifying games in the history of games. I don't find it that scary. Like, yes, it's intense for, like, the first hour or two where you only have the one weapon. Oh, come on. And, the enemies are, like, new and you don't quite know where they're going to jump out. But once you kind of learn the game's rhythm and rhyme, and once you get the Ripper, you are the predator, like, and they're the prey. It's not.
So Dead Space is basically our generation's version of The Exorcist, in my opinion.
I don't
The
know.
Exorcist was an incredibly scary movie when it came out, but it does not hold up today.
I agree. Yeah.
I think you can say the same thing about Dead Space in that it was very neat and innovative for what it was at the time and very scary then.
Yeah.
But so many other horrible things have come out that are scarier that it's just like you go back and play this and like, yeah, okay, all right. I
Right.
can see why someone 15 years ago was scared by this.
Well, but so here's the thing, though. Like, 15 years ago, when I played it, that was my reaction. Like, it has a really, really strong opening act, and then it kind of becomes not mundane, because I have fun from start to finish, which I will say is probably a pretty glowing endorsement from me for a horror game, because I've played horror games that have truly terrified me. But with Dead Space, my thought has always...
But if you make that argument, you have to make that argument about many other games in the genre, including Resident Evil 7.
Oh, absolutely. Resident Evil 7 is a horror game that I love. There's a certain point, though, where you become so well armed that the tension diminishes.
Right, and
I think Dead Space invented that.
To acknowledge that, because
Yes.
at that point you're kind of sick of the horror anyways, and you're
Sure.
like, okay,
Yeah.
I got all these guns, let's see what I can do with them.
Right. The thing about horror is that it's only scary for so long. So horror movies, you have like 2 hours with them, and during that time, it's basically coming up with creative ways to make you as frightened as possible. You cannot physically do that over the course of an 8-hour game, because your audience will absolutely become accustomed. Well, son of a bitch. Your audience will become accustomed to the modus of your fright. It will become formulaic. And so Resident Evil 7 decided that, okay, halfway through the game, we're just going to turn this into a creature feature. And that worked. Dead Space doesn't really do that. It sticks with the same enemies from start to finish. Really?
Well,
all right.
yeah, well, I mean, good lord, 7 had like, what, 3 enemy types? Makes this look like a cornucopia by comparison, but tonally, Resident Evil 7 at least had the the self-awareness to shift, to making the game a shooting gallery at the end.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I actually have to give Dead Space credit there because they essentially went in blind. Like Resident Evil 4 kind of ran with the whole over-the-shoulder run and gun, but Dead Space was like, okay, how can we take this and adapt it into an environment that is genuinely frightening and has some unique set pieces that haven't really been done on previous generations of consoles. And in that respect, I feel like they succeeded. Where this game does not succeed is being scary all the way through. Like, I think it takes a special kind of game or formula to pull that off.
How many games are scary all the way through?
I can think of a few, honestly.
Give me 2.
Amnesia.
Amnesia wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was.
Amnesia also falls apart in the third act, in my opinion.
See, but in Amnesia, you never become the hunter.
No, but you do become bored in the third act. but
I'm not talking about I'm not
there.
talking about the narrative. I'm talking strictly about the atmosphere.
Okay,
like games that can still surprise you after 7+ hours. I think deserve a special commendation.
And I'm talking about a game that is like finger quotes perfect, like from beginning to end.
Well, that's a
experience.
That's a whole different topic, because that's not just horror. Like a perfect horror game from start to finish.
I'm talking about a perfect horror game from start to finish.
Let me think here, because I am going to have to think about this, because that's a different question than what we were just wrestling with. A perfect horror game from start to finish would have to be, well, for me, Clock Tower, and that's purely objective, because I recognize that by modern standards, that's a shitty ass game. But no, for me, Clock Tower...
You don't have to go by modern standards. I mean, you can judge it by what it was at the time.
Yes, absolutely. And so by what it was for the time, Clock Tower did something really unique, which was that it never made you the predator, and it maintained a sense of absolute dread in its atmosphere from the very first act to the very final act.
Oh, thank goodness for all those explosive barrels.
Yeah, I know, right? They really lay them on thick. This guy's gonna get got. Oh, no. Now you there. Come on.
I didn't think when I shot that inflammable canister it was going to explode.
Inflammable means flammable? My favorite Homer Simpson lines.
But by the way,
Uh-oh.
Do you know what the difference is between flammable and inflammable?
No, why do they even make that distinction?
Okay, believe it or not, it makes sense. Flammable is any substance that will explode when exposed to a spark.
Oh, fascinating.
Inflammable is any substance that will explode when exposed to air.
Oh, I never knew that. Thank you, Professor Nick.
Both will explode if exposed to fire, but only one of them will ignite on its own, making it significantly more dangerous. See, I've got one of those brains where I look at something and I think, why is it that way? I need to know.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you for that. I've been wondering casually about that for years.
Tree in this game.
It is good. That's another. So there was some self-awareness here. Like with the upgrade tree and the weapon system, they knew that it was an action game first and a horror game second. So I give them credit for building a fun upgrade system.
I'm halfway done. Found a data board.
You're not halfway done with shit, Isaac.
Watch that door.
But this is a game, though, flaws though it has, it manages to entertain both horror buffs and action buffs at the same time.
I will.
This is a people pleaser without really going to the lowest common denominator. I think
Right.
one of the reasons I've always liked this is because it has a vision, and it doesn't always realize that vision, but it's consistent with it, and it hits the mark most of the time.
Yes, I think you're right. And
At
so
no point does Isaac surf on a missile away from the exploding Ishimura, right?
correct. And I think that a lot of people who hear me talk about this game assume I don't like it, and that's not the case. You're not going to pop out of that Vena. I thought I remembered one coming out from there. And that's truly not the case. I do genuinely enjoy this game. But people who laud it as like the pinnacle of the horror genre, I don't think have played enough scary games.
What is the pinnacle of the horror genre?
I just told you, it's Clock
Dead
Tower.
Space?
Okay, post Dead Space. Let me think here. What's the scariest game I've played in maybe even just like the last generation?
Okay, we've got what's that company that does all the that smaller company that does like the Until Dawn games?
You know, maybe something like Until Dawn. So my metric for judging a quality horror title is one that never makes you feel so empowered that the enemies cease to be threatening. And unfortunately for Dead Space, that absolutely does happen, which keeps it out of the, pantheon of the all-time greatest horror hits for me. But still is a wonderful game from start to finish. Like, I do not get tired of this formula of chopping enemies to bits.
Right. But I'm talking about like the cultural zeitgeist.
Give me a second. I'm slightly intoxicated from dinner and drinks with my wife, so I'm gonna have to think about horror here.
How many drinks have you had? Never mind, it's none of my business.
I'm working on my third. Shut up. Speaking of which, let me think here. Okay, so
Is it so much for me to ask for you to show up to an episode sober, Chris?
would I be any fun sober, I ask you? Wait, didn't I just get the damn dated award?
Okay, here's what I need here. I need a list. All right, I'll accept your cookies this one time. Okay. All right. I can see a lot of these suggestions here. Dead Space, Soma, Amnesia, Outlast.
Okay, Soma's a good
Alien
one.
Isolation.
Ooh, Alien Isolation. There's something we've never talked
Signales,
about.
Fatal Frame. Little Nightmares is one we should play on here.
Yes, I concur.
All right. But none of these were as fun to play as Dead Space, I think.
No, but at the same time, I would say that as soon as you're talking about a game on the merits of how much fun it is to control and run around in, you're even though it's an appropriate metric for judging a game, you're still talking about something different than pure horror.
But okay, here's the thing: if you want pure horror, go read H.P. Lovecraft. Right?
I agree. But people,
it's a different medium.
I agree. But I'm not. But that is to say, though, it doesn't mean that it has to be mutually exclusive. And
Sure.
People also speak of Dead Space in the same vein that they would talk about, H.P. Lovecraft or the masters of the genre in cinema. And to me, those are two different.
But this would be one of the masters of the genre.
But not the horror genre.
It's a titan of the horror genre.
It's a titan of the action horror genre. And I'm serious; those are two different things. Resident Evil and Clock Tower are two different things.
I think you're splitting hairs here, kind of like a critic.
I am, but only because this is a genre that I actually really enjoy. And there's very few things where I consider myself sort of a snob, but horror is actually one of those, because when it's done well, it can be done so well as to elicit genuine emotional reaction from you.
And I'm going to pause you for just a sec
ahead.
I can say hi to Sparks.
Hi,
'cause
Sparks.
I've not seen Sparks or heard from Sparks in 4 weeks.
Yes, we are
Hey,
playing later
Sparks.
than usual. We're trying to go back to some Fridays. But yeah. But yeah, so horror when it's done extremely well, which I will, by the way, give you credit for because you introduced me to, God, what did we just fucking play? Trinity. Or Faith, sorry. Faith, I would consider genuinely frightening, and it has nothing to do with the action or gameplay, or graphics even. Though the graphics do lend a certain creepiness to it.
Well, then it's just part of the challenge of, like, okay, we've got an Atari 1600 system graphic card that we're using for this
Right.
game. Here's our limitations. What do we do with it?
That's exactly right. It's how can we communicate as much as humanly possible with as little as humanly possible, and that, I pose to you, is where horror thrives. The scariest movies are never the ones where they show the monster. They're always the ones where they leave you guessing if the monster was ever even really there.
Sparks, you want to know how we're doing? Chris has had a couple drinks. I almost died last week. How are you?
And we're currently in a argument that could end our friendship over the horror genre. Though I would say that if it hasn't ended in, 15 years, it's not going to end, so...
Well, here's the thing, Chris, is if I'm arguing with you, it means I'm engaged in the conversation.
Exactly.
Instead of just shaking my head waiting for it to
Right,
end.
exactly. And you and I have completely different takes on this type of game, which I love because I love to talk about this stuff.
I feel that, though, if we want to talk about pure horror, that's kind of more... I'm not going to split this hair.
No, split
Pure
it,
horror
split it,
is a
please.
great-
Please do.
Pure horror is a great ideal to reach for, but when we're talking about a video game that, like I said, is just a different medium than a book,
You're right.
you got
It's hard.
The gameplay has to be just... The gameplay also has to be central to that, and if... At some point, your game is going to become a shooting gallery, and it's just how you manage how that happens. Because here's the thing:
I don't think it has to, though.
This is a good horror game, but you know what? It's also a fun shooter. And
It is.
While I'm having fun with the horror aspects of it, I really like the shooting aspects of it because that's
Me too.
That's cool.
Me too. I agree. But that's
how much
also
less would you like this game if it just threw that into the back seat?
So I don't dislike anything about this game. I think it is a wonderful game from start to finish. What I dislike is the way that the genre has evolved around it to where, like, you must have something that pays homage to Dead Space in the shooter genre. Part
Oh,
of it.
right. Yeah, I'll agree
It's
with
kind
that.
of it's the
Legion
same
of
reason.
Imitators, but
It's the same reason that I dislike what the fuck? The legacy of Resident Evil 4 is that it and honestly Dead Space wouldn't be what it is without Resident Evil 4. But Resident Evil 4 was so successful.
I'm sorry, my brain is still recovering, and I thought you said Final Fantasy IV, and I was trying to figure out what was going on.
But you could apply that same argument that Final Fantasy IV so solidified what the JRPG is that we've never really evolved beyond it. Yeah.
Because it
And I
became
love
safe.
I love Final Fantasy IV. I love Final Fantasy VI. I love Final Fantasy VII, but they all set in stone certain elements that modern developers can't shake themselves from. And the same
Chris,
is
do you think
the
you
same
would
is true
like
for
Final
Dead Space.
Fantasy? Do you think you'd like Final Fantasy VI as much now, if you played it for the first time, than when you played it as like a 12-year-old?
Of course not. Of course not.
Isn't that a horrifying thought?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And the reason for that is because at the time God damn it. At the time I first played it, I was, 9 years old. Like it was unheard of for a game to do what that game did.
Great. But hurry.
Chris,
Sparks.
you need to censor that right now. Censor all of those things.
You're right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Sparks wants to know how you almost died.
Oh. Well, Sparks, without going into too much detail again, I either had the worst migraine of my life, or I might have had a tiny aneurysm at my office.
Nick, I'm not sure if there is such a thing as a tiny aneurysm.
The symptoms I had, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
Who's
I
next?
had full-on hallucinations and everything. It was horrifying.
Oh, you're live. Oh, fuck! You're behind me. Okay, so notice the reactions that I'm having right now. I'm not scared. It's more like I'm surprised and...
Chris, you've played this game 6 times all the way through. Of course you're not scared. You know exactly where they're going to spawn.
But I play Clock Tower and I'm still scared. Sarah is asking if you went to the doctor, Nick.
Oh, Sarah. That's something that someone who lives in the insured person world gets to do.
You're insured.
I have,
not adequately
I'm insured
insured.
with CareSource.
Care
I actually
source.
have to pay more now for my medical care now that I'm not insured because the insurance is so bad.
Might as well be called CareNet.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
Right under our feet.
Might as well be called Care Nots.
Oh, God. Okay. So are you tired of this conversation yet? Because I can go on. Clearly.
Oh, if I was super tired of it, I probably would have steered in another direction. But chat seems to be really interested in my near-death experience and hallucinations I had.
Stupid people
So-
caring about Nick.
But no, I'm fine. I was just down for a
Is that
week, borderline exhausted, so... But, yeah.
Sparks, oof, care source. I guess you're not the only one.
Oh, please, Sparks, don't tell me you also had to... Don't tell me you sat there on like a really sad day in December before the deadline and was like, well, I guess it's better than nothing.
I guess
'Cause
it's better
that's
than
what I
not
did.
dying, yeah. Right.
10 minutes before open enrollment ended, I'm like, it could be worse, I guess.
Care source, at least you're not dead.
Ugh.
I won't say anything because this is an area where my privilege absolutely is showing.
But yeah, $10,000 deductible. No, thank you, sir.
I'm never gonna make 6 figures, but damn if my insurance isn't nice.
You know, here's the thing: you can make 6 figures, but if you don't have insurance, that 6 figures can
You're
drain
right.
away very damn quick.
Absolutely.
I love this country.
Sparks, I've never met any of you yet. Please stay out. Sparks, come hang out with Christy and we can meet up somewhere. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, we'll have to change that. How far away is Korea from here? Sorry,
Wait.
I'm writing Sparks fan fiction where
Is
they
Sparks
actually live
Korean?
in Korea.
Sparks.
Yeah, you didn't know
what?
this?
No, really?
Yeah.
Sparks,
Yeah.
is Nick fucking with me?
No. She's not Korean. She's from Korea. You racist.
I didn't know. Why I didn't fucking know that? It's never come up. Sparks, it's a bit of a drive. Let's go.
From
Come here.
Korea? Yeah, absolutely.
From
Especially when
Korea.
the Bering Strait doesn't cooperate.
Come on. Where are you coming from? What? Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready. Sparks Lamau. We
Okay,
will meet
Sarah,
up
you have a
somewhere.
valid point, and I apologize. Hey, speaking of creepy, so I was playing Dark Souls the other night.
Oh yeah, how's that going?
Somebody, well, I've been trying to beat the Fume Knight, and that's not happening. But somebody showed up to invade my game, and I kid you not, it was this guy just wearing pants. He was all red, and he only fought with bare-handed weapons,
And
and
penis.
his name was Knuckles.
Knuckles! No way!
It
Honey, not you, Chris. Thank you. I
was
love you.
great.
What was that clip you sent me? What was going on there? You were running in this hall, and then, like there's this big guy
That's
chasing
just
this little
another
guy.
day in Dead Space. That was someone who was supposed to be invading someone else's game, but they got turned around and chased by a mimic.
Sparks, you met actual real Knuckles. What, I ain't actual real Knuckles to you?
And true to his name, Knuckles didn't chuckle.
I suppose you wanted Idris Elba, huh?
I had my ultra great sword, and he had his knuckles. He proceeded to just punch me until I, couldn't feel pain anymore.
That's awesome. That is
No,
the Knuckles
seriously,
way.
next week we're just gonna have to stream an hour of me trying to beat the Fume Knight. That'll be amusing.
Oh yeah, I think we're at our best when we rotate regularly between my project and your project. Son of a bitch. Because, like, if we only do one thing for a while, I tend to pick longer things, you tend to pick short but sweet.
I know how our attention spans work, and I know the longer that the game goes, the lower the percentage gets of us completing it.
Yeah. Or in the case of Uncharted, Onimusha, and Doom Eternal, not at all.
Doom Eternal was going to take 15 more episodes.
No, it wasn't.
Uncharted, Uncharted was a fine game. I have no problem going back to Onimusha though. That was a legitimately interesting concept.
Okay, yeah, we did Onimusha dirty, and we got to finish that.
Okay.
I will say, Doom Eternal, we were cheating, so we had maybe like 3 more episodes max.
Speaking of cheating, do you want to play the SMRPG randomizer?
Yes, please. How did you like
Okay.
that?
I had the difficulty
Really? Oh.
almost a little too low because I didn't know what I was getting into.
Uh-huh.
It will be amusing to kind of point and laugh at a few things, but like be ready to talk about books, I suppose.
Sweet. We've been meaning to
Anywho.
talk about books for about a year, so. Spark says you guys need to get... Oh, you can read the chat, can't you? From
Yeah,
this
I've
view.
got my phone. Yeah, no, I can watch Sparks insult me in real time. That's very, very nice of you.
Needs to be a
I just
brain
want
cell
to let you
issue.
know that I graduated first in our class at DC. So what have you done?
And I
Oh, I'm
managed...
sorry. That was horrible. I shouldn't have said that.
And I managed to make magna cum laude when I was drunk and high 90% of the time. So, not that I'm proud of that, but it is an accomplishment.
Maintenance complete. Calling tram.
You know, I was so smashed during college that people never knew I was smashed because it was just like my average state of being.
They just kind of thought you were like Seth Rogen, right? Just that was what you naturally were.
Honestly, yeah, I hate to admit it because like I look back on how I behaved in college and I'm kind of appalled I would never do it today. But at the same time, I still have to give myself a little bit of credit for managing to keep up just enough of my work that I made good grades in spite of everything else. Really? Where's
So
this
like
woman going?
Goku, you never really ever fought at your full power. Okay.
I don't know about that. I just don't think that alcohol and recreational marijuana had the same effect on me that it does on a lot of people. Which I'm more than making up for now in a blood pressure that just will not descend below 130/90.
While your existential body horror is fascinating, I just want to point out the irony here that Sparks being very proud of their cat is ironic considering their favorite novel is Redwall.
I haven't read that. You're gonna have to tell me what that's about at some point. Or Sparks.
I read it, but I only kind of dipped my toes in it on stream when we were playing Faith. I loved it. It was one of those books that
we've already been
was exactly what I was hoping it would be.
Oh, cool.
It was delightful. It was like a children's book, but it was written in a way that didn't talk down to kids. There was a lot of freaking murder in it.
I love children's
Like the Chronicles
fiction.
of Prydain.
Yes, I've never read that one either, but I love children's fiction because of how off the wall it can get. It's like when I don't know, what's a really random example?
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Sure, or Coraline, or anything else. Honestly, where they just have a license to get as weird as they want because, hey, it's just kids. All of a sudden, you end up with some really surreal, nightmare-inducing crap.
You're not wrong. I mean, what's the adult version of Tim Burton's Night Before Halloween?
Nightmare Before Christmas? There's really nothing
I've
that
never
that
actually
equates
seen
to it.
it.
What? Really? It's so good.
I know it's good. I'm just always busy, Chris.
Come on, man. It's an hour and a half out of your life. Not even.
I can't remember the last time I just sat down. Wait, probably now.
Did I tell you when Michael, he hasn't been recently, but he got super into the song This Is Halloween, and it was like playing nonstop in our house for like 6 months straight.
Please tell me he only knew one line from it, right?
This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
That's all he
Actually,
knew.
no.
That's perfect.
I'm doing a disservice to Michael. He had that song memorized at 4
that's a
years
shame.
old, front to back.
It's a lot funnier when like your kid is going through their Disney phase, and it's like they only know one line from Aladdin.
No, yeah,
They
Michael's
only
a different.
know one line from the Prince Ali song.
If you haven't figured it out from hanging out with him, Michael is a different kind of little person.
I adore Michael. He seems to have the mind of a 12-year-old, and he's like,
Yep.
what?
4.
3?
4, yeah. But I guess you knew him when he... Sarah's right. It's because of the complexity of the music. He latches on to songs that have interesting things going on in them. Which is something I probably didn't do until I was in my 20s.
Sparks, did you just send me a book recommendation or a Middle Eastern, like, appetizer?
Yes.
Salamandestrin.
Wait, I missed this part of the chat. What'd she say?
It's literally right in front of you, my friend.
The Pearls of Lutra or Salamandestrin?
Well, Pearls of Lutra, I can understand what that is.
I don't know either of those.
Is this is getting looked up right now.
So here's the problem with me. I didn't start reading recreationally until I was in my late teens.
Okay, I got you. Never mind.
So like my school.
Oh, these are books in the Redwall series. Okay. Wait, yes, I recognize Pearls of Lutra now. That's right.
It's a whole series. Nice. So for me, reading, I didn't develop a love for reading until my late teens, early 20s, because my grade school forced down like the exact same genre down my throat.
Right, when they make you
for
read
8
like a
years.
Separate Piece and Lord of the Flies and all this stuff that you just don't care about, but it's already been approved by the state testing board. I
No,
get that.
my school didn't do that. What they did was it was nonstop colonial slave trade era literature. And like
here we go with the ethno state again.
No, it's not even about the importance of the material. I was so burned out that I thought that this is just what all books are, and I did not read recreationally until like when I just about graduated high school.
Speaking of recreation, did they ever show Isaac's face in the first game, or am I thinking of Master Chief?
No, so I don't know if they've ever. I don't know or care enough about Halo to know if they've ever shown Master Chief's face. But in the original Dead Space games, they didn't show Isaac's face until the second game. Oh no, actually that's not true. Until the very last moments of the first one. Yeah, where Nicole jumps him.
Oh, Sarah, are you taking down these wonderful book recommendations from Sparks? If that's the case, yeah, I think Redwall's great, though it's a little brutal. Also throw on that list the Chronicles of Prydain. That might be a little more kid-friendly.
Redwall books on tape before I could even read. Nice, that's interesting.
Oh my
See,
God,
I wish I had someone in my life that really appreciated like literature or even classic books. My dad was an avid reader.
Cassette tapes. Okay.
My dad was an avid reader, but his interests begin and end with Civil War era U.S. history. So again, like my whole approach to books at large was just it has to be about this one very specific era in history or it's not a real book. And I'd read enough of it where I just didn't care to read anymore.
I'm guessing at some point you had to read the collected memoirs of Ulysses S. Grant.
I don't know. Honestly I couldn't tell you because I just phased it out. What I did read that finally made me realize that hey, books can actually be something I personally have a connection with was Lord of the Rings, which I know you're not crazy about, Nick, but for me it was.
I mean, it's fine.
It was an eye opener. It was an eye opener for me. Like if it weren't for Tolkien, I would not have read the hundreds of books that I have. And like books that have nothing to do with Tolkien or his genre, just books in general. Like, had it not been for him, I would never have understood that there's variety out there, just like in movies, music, and games. Oh shit, she's dead.
No, they'll be fine.
She dead.
Oh. Well, they could have survived. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. You're
Look
right,
at this
you're right.
asshole. Oh, he's coming. He's coming.
Walrus Man.
Oh crap. He's not a cripple at all. He's like a fucking scorpion.
Death only improved his mobility. Sparks, you'll be delighted to hear this. Oh, he brought a buddy.
Didn't see that coming.
Whoever the narrator was for Redwall, I had to check because I could swear... Oh, there's another one.
Another one.
I could swear whoever narrated Redwall is narrating the book I'm reading now called Gardens of the Moon.
Gardens of the Moon.
And the main character sounds so much like Matthias that it was freaking me out.
Singularity Core.
By the way, we talked about Gardens of the Moon from the Chronicles of Malazan series.
I'm still waiting to have an in-depth discussion with you about Book of the New Sun.
We are going to need a whole episode of the randomizer to do that, my friend. We're
Or
either going to do
Stardew.
it properly or we're not going to do it at all.
There is Stardew as well.
Track is ready.
When I can get that running, yeah, that's been a bit problematic.
We are at least getting into chapter 2 of this fucking game, though, before we end this episode.
I don't remember this being so long.
I think the
Oh my god, there's another Matthias!
I think the first chapter is one of the longest.
Captain? God.
Isaac,
Because they set up everything and
cut through maintenance. Fine.
they like have to set out your goal and all that good stuff. I think after this,
Sparks really, really wants us to play Stardew.
yeah. Hey,
Okay,
hey, Sparks,
go look at that
Sparks,
advertisement.
real quick, Sparks, do you want to straight up join us for Stardew?
I keep thinking that's an advertisement for Space Jam.
Everybody get up! It's time to slam now.
I
We
mean,
got
it
a
looks
real
like
damn
LeBron James standing on the
going
Looney
now.
Tunes
Do the
logo,
Space
right?
Jam, Space Jam. Nick, here's your chance. Do your dance at the Space Jam. All right. Sparks is going to join us for Stardew. All right, cool.
Play the Hits was a lot better 2 years ago before they just let anybody stream with them.
Before all it was Chris singing Space Jam on repeat.
5 years. I remember it. Peak Play the Hits was Chris just sitting there singing Space Jam.
My favorite episode was when he kept singing Space Jam.
That's all the comments in chat.
Everybody get.
No, but that's one of the
shit.
rules with Stardew. 3 is better than 2, and 4 is always better than 1.
You know, if there's two people who actually know what they're doing and I can just fish the whole time, that's fine with me.
All right, so it'll be like Phasmophobia all over again.
Okay, we got the first store here.
I love that my siblings and I took
Ooh.
that ball and ran with it, and we're all like level 200 now.
What? Ooh, I can afford the level 2 suit already? Fuck yeah. Why get anything else? Let's do it, Nick. This is good. This was a
This
decent
was
first episode.
always horrifying when he would do this because I was so scared that he was gonna get
Lasered in half.
And this is just
cuts him in
horrifying to
half.
watch.
They censor out like the brutal screams. Sparks, please, you do all the fishing. It's the one thing I hate in that game.
Yeah,
I've played enough JRPGs where fishing mini games don't taunt me at all.
It's okay, Sparks. We'll make Chris do all the fishing, and we'll tell him it's vital. Well, actually, fishing is the easiest way to make money early on, but
Works for me.
I happen to like fishing.
See, so do I. Like I said, I've played enough JRPGs where fishing doesn't faze me. Apparently, it's
Fishing
like a
doesn't
Japanese
faze me. I'm not as scared of it as I used to be.
Sparks, well, that was horrifying. Comes out with like battle armor. Yeah, so I like Isaac's original suit. By the end of the game, he's just wearing full-on armor, and he's got like an arsenal of finger quotes tools that are actually just guns.
Well, I mean, they want to show you your progression.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I know that, but-
visually you can see how far you've come.
But did they really have to pretend that these were anything but guns?
They tried. At least an effort was made, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. This game is
it's better than the alternative.
this
which is
game. I will end this episode on a really positive note. This game is nothing but pure effort.
This
from
game is nothing. Chris Beck, 2023. Play the Hits
Nothing.
episode Dead Space #1, sub-series #3.
It's nothing but a game composed of pure effort and care. Care to the tiniest detail, care to the atmosphere, care to the story, care to the weapon and progression system. It was misunderstood when it came out. Is the only beef I have with it. And that's not even a beef with the game. That's a beef with
Did
the
you
game's
know-
audience.
Did you know that to this day the head director of this game insists that who made this? EA?
Yes.
They insist that EA snuck in that final boss fight without his consent.
Really? That makes
'Cause I
a
guess
lot
he
of
didn't get-
whole lot of sense. The random tentacle monster.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yep.
Now, Sparks, you're just being a cynic. The plasma cutter totally looks like something that a space engineer would use to cut and weld, right?
Yeah, totally.
Now, when he
Never
picks
mind
up the
that it
assault
has-
rifle and the flamethrower, not so much.
Never mind that it has literal ammunition. I think
welcome aboard, Spongeby boy.
Hey, we did it, Nick. Okay, if we do a chapter an hour, which should be about a 10-episode playthrough. And honestly, I think some of the chapters are short enough where we shouldn't have that problem. But
Yeah, but they all won't be as easy as chapter 1.
did you not hear my comment about the Ripper? Yeah, they will.
The Ripper.
Ripper. Kinesis. Oh, right. I'm supposed to move that. Physics.
Yeah, sorry, Sparks. It seems to be all spooky games all the time now, right? Between this and Faith.
When is the... Okay, besides Faith, when is the last spooky game we did?
I don't know, but Faith had an abortion clinic, so, I mean, that's like 2 games.
Faith was excellent. I'm sorry. Like
I thoroughly enjoyed Faith.
Faith was weird and wonderful, and like there's not enough games like it. Oop.
I like when it just became Doom at the end. That was pretty amazing. Oh, we gotta. Oh, that's right. We still gotta play Spooky's.
I'm good.
Speaking of spooky games, we still gotta play Spooky's House of Jump Scares yet on this channel.
Spooky's House of... Is this anything like Halloween? That Halloween game you made us play like 5 years ago?
Oh,
she looks okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
You're gonna get the boot. Stop breathing, and you're gonna get the boot.
No,
there she goes.
Oh my god, she just exploded like a watermelon.
They all do, Nick. They all do.
You should look it up, Sparks. It's an adorably cute, spooky game about a spooky girl ghost in her mansion with 1,000 rooms.
What was that? Oh, good thing I stepped on her. See,
Hey,
this is a gun. It's just a fucking gun.
No, Chris.
There is no practical application for this other than ending life.
It's an automated nail riveter.
You're right, Nick. How could I have been so blind? Look, it
know,
even
like how
says
they get all
equip
those bolts
weapon.
in the door
It's a
real quick?
weapon.
You could seal a bulkhead in 30 seconds with that assault rifle. I mean, nail gun.
It's a fucking gun. It's just a gun. Stop it, Isaac. Stop pretending you're anything but a Doom Marine.
Okay.
With vaguely psychic powers.
If you got... Okay, who would win in a fight? Doom Guy or Isaac Clarke?
I mean, considering Isaac Clarke could pick Doom Guy up with his glove.
But once you play that trick, that's all he's got.
But that's all he needs.
True.
He can slow Doom Guy.
Yes.
Right. He can slow Doom Guy to a crawl and pick him up with his anti-grav glove, and then rivet him to death. Which sounds vaguely sexual.
The morgue.
Yeah, but the barricade was put together in a hurry.
Anyway, Nick, any last thoughts on
Detonator, like
horror?
Yeah, I think you should evacuate this area immediately.
I agree.
Immediately.
I agree. Why is this a 10-hour game? This needs to be done immediately. Also, I forget. Can I trust this guy that I'm talking to?
Hammonds?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a POC. He's fine.
Okay, cool. I haven't played this game literally since 2008, so
Yeah.
I really did enjoy this game, but it was a one playthrough, and I just never got around to re-experiencing
Yeah, I mean, if
it.
you choose Hammond as the romance option in this game, you get the good ending.
Wouldn't it be great if there were romance options in this fucker?
I mean, I could see like a later version of this with like both city building aspects and romance options.
Right, you're like repairing the Ishimura and turning it into a farming colony.
Oh god, it's just like the late generation Assassin's Creed games, which just had all that garbage shoved in them.
Is this something that I got for buying the game?
Sparks, have you ever seen the KFC dating simulator?
Suit level 1, legacy rig. I just want to see what this does. Does it do anything different than what I have?
Can you maybe just go back to suit number 1? You're like, oh, this makes the game too easy.
Right, it's kind of like Super Metroid, where why would you ever go back to not having the screw attack?
Ah, so she has seen it.
Oh, okay. This is just what the suit looked like on the PS3. I see. Okay.
Here's the thing, though. This suit is... Say whatever you will about the game. This suit is iconic.
It is. Also looks kind of dumb.
But it's iconic.
Like, why is only part of his body guarded?
Because this isn't battle armor. This is something for an engineer, so that when you're using the arc welder, it doesn't jump.
What if he were left-handed? Is all I'm saying.
Oh, this is the future. Everybody's been genetically modified to perfection. There are no lefties.
You're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's re-equip the level 2 suit. Wait.
Yeah, I like the bronze and teal as well. He looks kind of like a rusted penny.
Where's my level 2 suit?
Did you just lose your level 2 suit?
Level 2 suit.
Did you only get like one of them and now it's gone?
Oh no. Oh no, Nick.
Like you used your token for the suit and it's gone? Chris,
wait, what if I unequip it? What happens?
You may be the only person in the history of civilization who's ever done this. How do you feel right now?
Not good. I just blew $5,000. Not good.
You sound like someone who bought some Bored Ape NFTs.
Oh, okay. We're good. We're good. We're okay.
Collapse.
We're back in PS5 graphics now. You know, like I said,
you're going to be bronze and teal forever.
Right? This is essentially how I remember Dead Space looking, but at the same time, seeing the original outfit right next to the modern one, I have to give credit where credit is due. They did do a lot to bring this game up to modern standard, and I know you can't feel how it controls, but it is amazing to me how far game controls have come since 2008, even, which is kind of where, like, the advent of the modern shooter mechanics were released.
I'm sorry. Right now, all I can hear in my head is, after Sparks' comment, I'm just thinking for some reason of like Gandalf chastising Bilbo Baggins when he puts on like the ring and he's like, "No, you fool! You've sealed your fates. You'll be bronze and teal forever.
Do not mistake me
That's the curse of the ring."
Of cheap tricks.
It's always so weird to me that like
rob you.
The ring of unlimited power just made you invisible. How lame was that?
Hey, that's all you need to see naked ladies in the shower.
Like I had to put that on my finger, and I was like, yeah, I mean that's like fine, that serves a purpose, but it doesn't make you
if that's not unlimited power, I don't know what is. Frankly, why am I covered in blood? All right, next time I'm playing the hits.
Metaphorically, or
no, I didn't step on a corpse, and I'm covered in blood.
I watched you step on a corpse. You can deny it all.
It's in a body bag. It's in a body bag.
Yeah. They were coming right after you. I know it was self-defense. I'm not the police. You don't have to get your story straight from me.
Self-defense. Goddamn. We'll see you next time, Nick. Makes you into a hobbit.
How does Duncan always know when the end of the episode is? He's coming into the room because he knows.
I have to poop.
I know.